Hey guys, it's Kyle Gaffner with the Bitter Birds, and we're going to be talking some baseball in lieu of the World Series tonight. It's the last game. I can't believe it. It's been a great series. Cleveland up 3-1. You thought they were going to take it, but hey, Cubbies are fighting back. They finally want to break that curse of 108 years. And let's hope they do. And both of these cities can feel the pain that us Philly fans have felt too. Yeah, we have two championships, but it's spread out between 25 years. It's brutal. And let's hope we don't have to wait another 25 until we bring another chip home. But I don't think that happens. That's going to happen. Now let's talk a little bit about these clubs because I think they have a lot to do with what the Phillies are doing right now. If you remember, the Cubs were really bad for a really long time. But what did they do? They finally started drafting well. And I think that's the best way to build a championship team is through the draft. You build from within. The Chicago Cubs have a lot of money to spend. They did that in previous years. They would spend a ton of money on free agents, bring them in. It never really worked out for them. It's good to have that money because you can go out and sign that one big piece if you do need it, kind of like they did with John Lester. So that kind of helps. But Cleveland isn't in the best situation for that because they're a smaller market. So they don't have that luxury. So they definitely can't miss on their draft picks. And they really haven't. They've drafted pretty well over the past couple of years. Look at Francisco Lindor. Looks like he's going to be a staple of that team for years to come. That kid's outstanding. I mean, he's got fantastic defense. That's what he was known for when he was coming up. But his bat is incredible. His bat speed is really there. He can steal bases. He's got quick hands. He can even jack it out of the ballpark for being a little guy. You know, they got Carlos Santana there. They made key trades to get pitchers. They traded for Carlos Carrasco back in the day with the Phillies. That's how we got Cliff Lee. Corey Kluber they traded for San Diego. San Diego always seems to draft really well and then get rid of the great players and then stick with the guys that never pan out. So sucks for San Diego, but Cleveland has really benefited off of them. But I wanted to ask you guys whether you think which route would you rather take? The way Cleveland has done it or the way the Chicago Cubs have done it. Because the Chicago Cubs, with winning 103 games this season, have done it with the bats. As to whereas Cleveland has done it with the pitching. So would you rather have power pitching arms or would you rather have bats that can jack homers for days? And being in the ballpark that we have, you want to have really good pitching, but it behooves us because it's a smaller ballpark, so you can have a lot of guys jack a ton of home runs, hit the long ball. So that's how we did it back in '08. In my opinion, I'd rather have that because I think it makes it more exciting. We didn't have the greatest staff back then, but they managed games and they did enough to where we could throw crooked numbers up there. We'd be throwing 5 runs, 8 runs in any game. So it was fun to watch. I liked that team. It was so exhilarating. And then we tried to do it when we went out and got Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, Roy Oswalt, the Four Horsemen, the Four Aces, if you remember. It didn't really pan out too well for us. I mean, we won a lot of games, but they weren't able to take us to the promised land. But Cleveland has relied on their starting pitching, but mostly on the back end. Their entire bullpen should win MVP, especially Andrew Miller. That was the trade of the season this year. By being able to get him, he has really saved their season, and he's been the MVP. He got them to the World Series, and quite possibly could win them a World Series. I know it's been 70 or 80 years for them, not as long as the Cubs, but they've really had a drought. Now, the Cubs, like I said, had went out and signed John Lester. They spent a ton of money on Jason Hayward, who I think got way too much money. I mean, he's a great defensive outfielder, but he can't hit the side of a barn. I mean, it's pathetic. He can't even hit air. That's how bad he's batting at the plate. But they've drafted well. They've got other guys to pick it up. They could stick Wilson Contreras out in the outfield. They can play him at catcher. They're very versatile. They got Jorge Soler they could stick out in the outfield. They're deep, too. Chris Bryant could play a little bit of outfield. He's a nice building block at third base. They got Addison Russell, Javier Baez. I mean, this team is deep. Kyle Schwarber has come back. I mean, the dude has missed an entire season, and then you start him that first game, and I was kind of questioning that decision of Joe Madden, but I mean, wow, this guy has just got he can handle the stick really because he got 3 hits in that game and yeah, he had 1,500 at bats with a pitching machine, but that's not live action. So I didn't really think he was going to do anything, but he did. So that was amazing for him to come in here and do that. But the Cubs offense has finally started to turn on. They're starting to get into that starting pitching, and that's why I'd rather have the bats than the pitching because at any given time, yeah, you could have shutdown pitching, but at some point you're going to be able to get to them. That's what I think has happened. You can shut down bats too, but it's all about timing. But I still think bats outweigh pitching. And I know Matt Klintak has come out and said he wants to build this organization with power arms. We don't really have power arms. We were rated as one of the best. We were rated the top minor league system this year. I mean, we are loaded at the outfield position. So what enables teams to advance, much like the Cubs did, when you have a deep farm system, you're able to make trades because if you can only throw 8 or 9 guys out there, you can gather these guys up and trade them because we have a slew of outfield positions. So you can only throw 3 guys out there. Dylan Cousins had a great year, but he's going to be playing at AAA. We got Roman Quinn, who showed us a lot of great ability. He's athletic. He's got speed. The only problem with him is he's going to be able to stay healthy. We got Abdul Herrera. I heard they're going to possibly either trade him or move him down to second base. So this puts the Phillies and Matt Klintak in a great position to be able to move forward. Maybe we trade and get that number one starter because we have a couple young arms down there, but they're very young, and Franklin Kilome and Medina down there too, but they're so young. They're 19, 20 years old, so it's going to be a while before they come up here and pitch. I still think they have a little bit of a learning curve, so they're not going to be like Julio Urias was for the Dodgers. But this is great for us because we can go out and make that trade, and we have plenty of cap space. So that's also something we have in our back pocket that helps us. We're a big market team, so we can go and spend a little bit of money. We could be waiting for the 2018 season. There's a couple great bats out there. I've heard rumors that we could trade for Mike Trout. Bryce Harper, I heard, is a free agent. We could be targeting him. I don't know if he would come here. I can't really see Washington letting him walk, but you never know. But the Cubs were able to do that, make some trades, and surprisingly, the Indians didn't have the deepest farm system, but they had a couple really good guys that were ready to come and play, and Clint Frazier. They had a couple young arms that they sent to the Yankees to get Andrew Miller. And like I said before, I mean, that really put the staple on this playoff run and getting them to the World Series. So just leave your comments. I want you guys to tell me what you think. Would you rather have power pitching or would you rather have bats? Would you rather have power hitters to get you to the World Series?